Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jessie. I am a elementary music teacher in Phoenix, Arizona, and today we are going to talk about my 5 top tips for the new music teacher. I've actually made this video a year ago, and it's just funny how just a whole year can make a whole lot of difference in your reflections. And so of course I still stand by a lot of what I said in that video, but I just wanted to refresh and make a new one for you guys. These are all different tips than my previous video, and so I wanted to just kind of think of some other things that I could do to put out in the world and maybe hopefully help 1 or 2 new music teachers that are so excited to get into the classroom. So let's get into it. Okay, so my very first tip for you guys, I said in my old video, which I like cringe now that I watch it. It's just funny, like you get perspective. So I said names are power, and I think that that statement, while I had good intentions, I do want to totally change that because I was just thinking of it in the behavioral management aspect, but names are everything. They really are. When you have a name to a student, your relationship, if you know their name, is going to be so much better. That's like the very first, that's like the baseline of trying to, you know, build a relationship with a kid, is just knowing their name, knowing how to say it correctly. That will just open up a world of relationship building. If not, I think that kids close off and they feel like you don't care. And it is hard because as a music teacher, you're gonna have a lot of students. You're gonna have the whole entire school in a lot of cases. And so I have like around maybe 700 kids that I teach, but we do have like 900 kids in our class or in our school. So it's a lot, and it is gonna take time. So first year teacher, don't worry if you don't get all of them in the very first year. I will say it's gonna take you a couple years. It's gonna, you know, take a few years, but I want you to keep trying and keep going, because I see it so much when I like have a brain moment, I forget a kid's name, I see that shut down, and that, you know, it's definitely like a little chip away at our relationship. So names are everything. And here's what I want you to do in the first day of school when you're trying to learn all of those names. So you have your roster. Here's what I did my first year. I tried to say all these names. I'm like, who's so-and-so? Who's so-and-so? Not the best idea. The kids are going to crack up. They are going to laugh because they all know each other for the most part, and they know exactly how to say, and that kid has that nickname and that has a spelling that is actually pronounced a little bit different. And so they're, first of all, it's going to be like comedian act. So it might give them a really great laugh because they're going to just think it's so funny that you can't say all these names. But I think instead of that, how about the very first day, what you're gonna do is you're gonna have your kids come in, they're gonna sit down, and then I want you to have just to ask them to introduce themselves. So at each kid, say, hey, you know, how about you go ahead, and they say their name. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. It doesn't have to be super long. Just have them say their name for you so you can start listening and making sure you're getting pronunciations right and all of that. Another thing that you can do for names is to look in your if you have Infinite Campus or whatever kind of student log information system that you have. A lot of times you can print out rosters with pictures on them. So I think if you really want to go this extra mile, which I think it'll pay off immensely, is print them out and make little flashcards for yourself and have the kid's picture on one side and the name on the other, and just start going through. Last thing that I will say about names is making sure when the kids come in from here on out, like you have your first lesson, they introduce themselves, but then I say to the kids, okay, as you come in for the next month, I want you to always say your name as you come in. Say, hey, I'm so-and-so, remember Miss Johnson, right? So they say their name and it just keeps hearing it. So names are not power. They are amazing for behavioral management, I get it. But really, they're just the opening to a relationship. And if that is like the baseline, you have to get that first step in order to start building relationships really with anybody. So names are everything. 2, humor and silliness. Please do not come into somewhere and not smile until winter break, or whatever that saying is. That's just the most, I don't like that saying at all. Humor and silliness is like my favorite part of teaching, especially with the younger kiddos, pretend with them, be silly. But here's the thing, here's where it teetered and where I started to go a little bit on the other side of behavioral management, where I was a little bit more tough at first, because I came in there, I wanted to be, you know, silly with kids, and then I would be like, they can't handle it, like it's just good, it's unraveling. And so here's the thing, you gotta have your expectations, you gotta have your rules, and I talked about in my last video. I won't bore you in this video, but make sure you have your expectations, because you know, as soon as that silliness goes over the edge, then you got to bring it back to your expectations. And so I think, and it also a lot of times is based off of different classes and kind of what they can handle. So I will say, be firm in your rules, be firm in your procedures, be firm in your expectations, but also be silly. And you know what? It's okay to flip a switch really quickly. And just a reminder, it doesn't have to be mean or anything like that, but just really quickly slide back over like, hey, remember a rule that we had? Can you please make sure you do that? And then go right back into your silly and funness, because kids are gonna respect that. They respect that you can be fun, but you also are clear about your expectations and you hold true to them. My third tip for you guys is give the students time to talk. And what I don't mean is this, like the classic just raise your hand, get a few students to tell me their response or the answer, and then you move on. What I mean by that is set up times where the kids get out of their seats and they go talk to a partner, or they have a go-to color group of 4 people and each person gets to share out. So I've noticed with this is it's really infuriating. I'm sure it's very frustrating to students when you constantly say, you get a few kids that are okay with, you know, my friends that always love to share, you get a few responses and then you just move on. I think if you do a lot more pair sharing or a lot more group sharing, and you give them 30 seconds, you give them a minute just to quickly talk, and then you come back together, that everyone gets to share, everyone gets to say something. Maybe they didn't get to say it to me, but they got to say it to a group of students, and it's really validating. So give the students time to talk. Really make sure you're doing pair share, small group discussion, so that everyone gets a chance. 4 is have your teacher toolkit. So what I mean by that is have your go-to gadgets that you seem to always go to and have them at the ready. I actually wear a fanny pack, a beautiful fanny pack. I know I have style, I have class, and I always have my go-to things in there. So my 2 main gadgets that I seem to always have is, well, gadgets, a bell. I always have a bell. I used to always do those callbacks where I'd be like, 1, 2, 3, eyes on me, or shark bait, ooh ha ha. Like those things, kids love well, they love them and they don't. I think if you use like fun ones, they do. If you use kind of boring ones, I think they get old and they don't work. But that's another aside. But I just noticed especially with music, like a lot of times they're playing instruments in small groups or something like that, and it gets really, really loud. And so when I'm trying to do that, I am just, oh my goodness, I'm hurting my voice because I'm yelling. So I got a bell, and all I do is just ring-a-ling-a-ling, and that seems to work out really well when I need to tell them something. And so I think just save your voice with those calls. Instead, just use an instrument. We have so many loud instruments in our classroom to cut through the sound. We need their attention. Just ring a bell or whatever instrument you like. The second thing that I really enjoy using is a clicker. So if you have a smartboard, great, awesome, you don't need this, but a lot of schools, you know, don't still. And so if you have a projector, I just get a little clicker that you can use, and you can keep going on your slides and things like that, and you don't have to be glued to your computer. I also have a wireless keyboard, so I can even like type things like away from my desk. And so every time I feel like I went to my desk, I would lose kids kind of sometimes. So being able just to like walk around, a lot of times I teach from the back of my classroom. It just really helps just everybody stay on track. I think it's fun to like stand by different kids. Some kids it makes them nervous, and then some kids are like, oh, she's right here, she's hanging out with me. So, you know, it just depends, but just like get in there. You don't have to be glued to your desk. Number 5 is hype everything. Okay, so as a teacher, I really do feel like you kind of are an actor, an actress. Like, you have to be the most excited person in the room. No one is going to be more excited than you about whatever you're doing. And so when you come with that kind of energy and that approach to whatever you're doing, it's going to be contagious, and the kids are going to be excited. And so I have made the mistake in the past about singing. I am a kind of self-conscious singer, and I've gotten better about it for sure, but I am kind of self-conscious, and then I have a lot of students that are self-conscious about singing. And so what I used to do to be like, okay, I'm gonna level with my students, I'm gonna help, you know, kind of come from a feeling of, you know, letting them know that I'm kind of self-conscious about singing. It's okay if you are too, you know, please just give me something, it's all right. Like, you know, just trying to like talk, and I don't think that's a bad angle at all. But here's the thing, is I made it almost too okay, that to the point that like kids would get not very excited about singing, and so I would have a lot of reluctance to sing. So with anything that you do, it just doesn't work to come up and be like, hey guys, we're gonna do a worksheet. Like, I know it's not the most exciting stuff, but we're gonna do it, yay. Like, they're not, no, it doesn't work. No, the energy level is just like, meh. But if you're like, hey guys, we're about to learn about eighth notes, get pumped, get ready, tee-tee-ta, what? Okay, so everybody take a piece of paper. All right, here's the first thing. Like, you know, if you just get excited about it, like, the kids are going to pick up on your energy. Alrighty, the last tip for you guys is to have specific expectations for specific things. What a title. So what I mean by that is, like, you have your expectations of just like your rules, your general rules for the classroom, right? Raise your hand, be respectful, things like that. You might have expectations for instruments. You might have a few rules that say, okay, here's the rules when you go to the instruments. And you might have a few rules for movement. Whenever we move in the classroom, here's the expectations. So having those, sometimes I have found it's not enough just to have your general rules. So to have those expectations for certain things that you do in the classroom really helps, and review them out the wazoo. Review them all the time. When I go over to my kid, I learned this at a workshop. I think I might have changed over the years just a little bit, but oh my goodness, this changed my life. Movement expectations with my kinders and my first graders. I'll be like, everybody say rule number 1, and they'd be like, rule number 1, no bumping, keep your hands to yourself. Rule number 2, no falling on the ground, keep yourself safe. Rule number 3, no, wait, what was it? Oh yeah, following, be your own person. And rule number 4, no talking cause you are listening. And we'd say it like that every single time. You know what, they kind of like it because we say it in silly voices, and then they do it for the most part. Kids are gonna be kids, you know, it's all right. So that is my last tip for you guys. I hope that you have an amazing first year, whatever the scenario is this year. I know it's a crazy time to have your first year. You are gonna rock it. Don't worry about it, just do your best, especially in this scenario, and just know that, you know, we're all in it together. Make sure you talk to other teachers, get the support that you need, and have an amazing first year. All right, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. I will catch you in the next one. Don't forget to subscribe or like this video if you feel like you want to kind of stick around, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.